Checkaroo.
Check one.
There we go. 5, 4, 3.
Welcome, everyone, and pull up a seat at the table. It is lunchtime in Rome. Tonight's episode, 227, is entitled Uncomfortable. What's it like to go from leading the high school musical for 2 years straight to being a lowly first-year student at a school 2 hours
So
away?
lowly.
What's it like to know absolutely no one for the first time in your life? If high school was difficult socially, how much more difficult is college? Join us at the table this week as we hear from Bella Mitlo. Pull up a seat and join us. First-time listeners, you can subscribe on your favorite podcast app or watch us live or later at youtube.com/lunchtime in Rome. Visit us at lunchtimeinrome.com, and while there, you can take our relational needs questionnaire. Make sure to follow us on all social media. And it would be great if you gave us a 5-star review. Bella, what specifically is this podcast about?
Being alone is the worst. Good times aren't as good, and bad times are worse when you're alone. Romans 12:15 says to rejoice with those who rejoice and mourn with those who mourn. That is how you keep people from being alone and what this podcast is all about. We demonstrate that in the first 15 minutes of the podcast and talk about it for the rest. So while it may not be 12:15 in Rome, we're treating it like it's lunchtime in Rome.
Lunchtime.
I didn't know there was a countdown.
Hey, that's okay. That's okay. That was great. That was great.
That's the way
I messed it up.
I loved it.
I have to leave.
the way the opening was meant to
I
be today.
loved it. Just motored on through.
That was great.
No
That
one
was
told me
great.
there
You know,
was
if
a
I had my
pause.
eyes closed, I would have thought your dad was sitting there saying all that. That was,
It was seamless.
yeah, you sound just like him.
That was great.
Thanks.
Bella, it's nice to have you back.
Thanks for having me. It's good to be back.
Yeah, absolutely.
We also want to take a minute to thank ML and Ashley, right, for sitting at the head of the table.
Marilyn. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I just, ML.
Right.
ML.
Right.
I'm Al
You know.
Merlin.
So how can you also sit at the head of the table?
Ooh, Eric, tell us.
You can go to lunchtimeinrome.com and you will find our webpage. It is managed with Substack, so you can subscribe via Substack. It's very simple. And you can have a seat at the table with us. Or you can send in money to the show directly, just like Breaking 90 did. And you can sit at the head of the table with all of us.
Breaking 90 is a.k.a. a nice guy named Paul. Who, and I mean, what does it mean to sit at the head of the table?
Well, we still need to talk about that.
Right. I mean,
But you
hash
get a
out
shout
some
out.
details.
Right now you get a shout out.
Right.
And we're going to talk about what that means in the future.
And,
yeah.
it includes, I mean,
Because like we
offering,
can't list every single person that subscribes every single week.
Right.
That's hopefully that would be its
we
own
have,
show.
You know what? Someday when we have like a bunch of subscribers, we'll have to
Jonas.
like scroll them on the screen.
Yeah.
Right now it would be just 3 names. Just we can make them really big though.
Hey, it's a start. It's a start, and I'm very grateful for what they've done. And we've got some money in the bank, and that's always good because there's things that we want to do to produce the show better. And
Yeah, and I do want to talk a little bit about the 5-star reviews and everything too. I mean, we intro the show with it every week, but if you get value from this, please do take a couple minutes, a couple seconds, and go ahead and smash that like button, as the kids say, on wherever you're listening or watching this, to give us that kind of feedback. It helps us with our rankings, and if you want to share it, that would be great. Because we do want to do some bigger things, I think, this year. And all that stuff is going to help us do that. So anyways, welcome Mary Lynn and Ashley and Breaking 90. I keep wanting to call them Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
But did we ever get rid of that gift card?
no, not yet. I'm waiting on Jay for direction with that.
Yeah.
Oh. Very lucrative gift card up for grabs.
It was a nice gift card.
But Chris, how are you?
I'm great. Why do I say that? Why do I just go in? Oh yeah, I'm fine. Everything's fine.
Not just fine. You said great.
I know.
Yeah.
What's wrong with me?
I don't know. I hope you are.
Evidently
why-
nothing. You're
you
great.
know why I'm great right now? Because I'm right here with you guys, and and I had coffee about an hour ago.
Oh, so you're like,
There it is.
Yeah. I needed that for tonight because today was my second day back at school after the holiday break.
Re-entry is tough.
Re-entry is tough, and I already knew this ahead of time, right? I'm a veteran. I've done this for years, but the second day is always harder than the first day back. Like the first day, you're a little anxious about it, like, oh, I got to get back.
Yeah.
But you're up on time. You're you're well rested because you just
Got a
had
little
like
bit of extra
days and
adrenaline
days
going.
off.
Yeah.
Yes, you got your a little bit of jump in your step because you got to get there and get back in the swing of things. But then the second day,
It's back.
now you just
to
got to do
life.
it again.
I woke up. Remember that song from the '90s? Back to life. Back to reality. Do you remember any of that?
Yeah.
That's what I woke up singing this morning because it was like almost exactly what you're saying. Like yesterday, I was like, all right, back in the swing of things. And then today was like, all right, back in the swing of things.
Really back
Dude,
in the swing of
and
things,
now
yeah.
that you say that, today it was harder to get out of bed than it was yesterday.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a thing. I call them tired. Now, today obviously isn't Tuesday, but normally Tuesday is the second day of the work week. Tired Tuesdays. Like worse than Mondays for me all the time. Mondays are like, okay, I got to do this.
Tuesday,
I'm like, can
It's the
I do
worst day of
this?
the week.
It is about the like.
It's the worst.
If Tuesday was a state, it would be Kansas. No offense to people in Kansas.
Yeah. I mean, there's nothing there.
Sorry to
There's
all
no
the
hills.
Not
Kansas
soon.
viewers.
Not soon to be sponsored
Well,
by
that's what I
Kansas.
said.
Yeah,
No,
the
yeah,
state
yeah,
of Kansas will not
Well,
sponsor
no,
us.
I would venture to bet that the people in Kansas listening to this go, yeah, you're right.
You're not wrong.
We are like Tuesday.
We know. Yeah.
We're not California, which is like Saturday or
They're like,
Friday
we
night.
get tornadoes though, bro.
Well, I was gonna say, I think it's all black and white there, which is sad for them. Like
yeah.
it's all black and white with twisters.
I've driven.
Once you get out of there, it turns into Technicolor. That's what I've heard.
I've driven through Kansas,
Yes.
and it is actually black and white. And there are tumbleweeds that come across the highway.
I mean, it is boring.
Yes.
It is miles and miles, and then there'll be a tree, and then miles. And, honestly, that's
but
what it is.
that almost gets you more excited because, like, oh,
That's-
Yeah.
well,
that's
how
it.
did
That's
that
the
tree get
first,
there?
First tree I've seen in
Who
75
put that
miles.
tree there?
How do you grow?
I will say we did drive through it at night, and they did have like
So it was black
you
and white.
could see amazing lightning. Like it was just go across
Oh,
the sky
yeah.
because there was nothing blocking it.
You know, that
So
reminds
it was
me.
literally black and white for you at night.
It was.
That reminds me of like going to the shore also though, like the vastness of the sky.
Yeah.
Like we live, anybody who's not from the Pittsburgh area or just from a hilly region, like we live in a place where
Heavily wooded.
skyline is limited. Like
don't have
anywhere
big
you
sky.
stand, there's
No.
there's a lot of trees
Right.
or a lot of hills, and it's just like, oh, the sky is up. It's
very pretty.
But you go somewhere like
Kansas.
the Atlantic Ocean or
yep.
Kansas, yeah, it's like
You see for,
way more sky. Yeah,
miles and miles.
that's beautiful. Oh, there's another song.
I can see for miles. And,
Who's that? The Who? Who? The Who?
Sure. But so second day back at work
Yeah.
today, and it was kind of like the Tuesday that was a Wednesday.
The Tuesday
but-
of of this week, and but it really was better. I was more tired today, but the kids, they came back. The students, that is, they came back to school yesterday, like wired. And sometimes after a break, you don't know what to expect. Like sometimes they'll roll in tired, sometimes they'll roll in wired. And it was like every class that walked in my door yesterday, they weren't bad. It was just like, I don't know, I guess they were excited to be back because there was just this high energy. Like everybody wanted to talk and so it was hard to like sort of calm things down and get things rolling for a class, that kind of thing. Today, it was much calmer. So I think for them too, it was like the tired
It kinda
Tuesday
hit
effect.
them.
So
Yeah.
that, but in a good way, honestly, overall, because then it's a little bit easier to. Because when you're a music teacher like me, it's not like, well, it's more like if you're teaching high school or something, like how you have a new class rolling in every 40 minutes.
Yeah.
It's not like an elementary classroom teacher where they're just sort of like, okay, I have the same class, we're settling in for the day. Like for me, it's like start again. And it was like every time a new class rolls in, you're like, well, okay, what kind of energy is this one going to have?
Yeah.
So, but today, mostly that energy was a little milder and made things a little easier.
Yeah. You know what's funny that you mentioned that because so yesterday, so since I mentioned this last week, Amy's mom passed away, and her mom used to watch her on Tuesdays and Thursdays after preschool. And to make things easier on everybody, including my mom, not to add any extra burden on her and whatnot, we asked Maggie's preschool if she could do full days on Tuesday and Thursday, and they said that they could do that, which
Yeah,
was
nice.
great. And one of the things on full days is they have nap time,
All right.
quiet time.
Yeah.
Maggie does not nap.
Oh,
And so it's been like she'll just lay there, which is great. It's for 2 hours, and I'm like,
oh wow.
she'll
2
lay there.
That's a long
2
time.
And like you can't have a book, you can't have a toy, nothing. You just lay
2
there.
hours?
But here's the thing, though. I feel like peer pressure is a big thing. So there's all these kids that were already doing it, and I
Yes.
think she probably, because the first I was like, okay, let's see how this goes. And the first day in, I went in and they said that she did great. This was a while, this was like a month ago or whatever. And they're like, she did great. Well, yesterday we had to wake her up to go to school because she was just like sleeping in.
Yeah, first day back.
And then she took a nap. Like she actually fell asleep.
Wow.
I was like, wow. So like time is really catching up from being off. Like
Yeah.
that was, but I was like, that's awesome. And but yeah, we're still in the very much aftermath and of Amy's mom passing, and it's been hard. We're starting, like we said last week, we haven't really had time to let things settle in, but things are kind of settling in, and we're all having our moments and whatnot.
And right before the holidays, like just extra hard,
dude.
extra.
Yeah, because we had to
extra.
plow through, getting everything done for the funeral and all those arrangements, and then we plowed through Christmas, and so we're feeling it. We're tired, but yeah. So we're still there. I think we're gonna be there for a little while, and things are gonna come in and come out. Because it's just gonna be those moments we've talked about, like when my grandma passed away years ago. It was one of those things where Jay talks about, like, it's not on Christmas, it's not on Thanksgiving, it's that random Tuesday. And there was like a random day that I walked into a Dollar Tree or whatever, and there was always these things that reminded me of my grandma.
Yeah.
And it just like hit me, boom. And Amy's starting to get some of that, and it's it's been tough, but yeah, but we appreciate all the support that everybody's given us, for sure.
Are you guys like 5 stages of grief kind of people? Like, do you like, and what I mean by that is like, do you monitor it? Like, some people would be like very much on like, okay, I think I'm in this stage right now. And I know it's fluid. Like you can go, oh, I took it. I'm back in this step, or now I'm forward in this step. But
No.
yeah, I'm not either. But I know like my Amy, I would be more so.
I could see Amy being more thinking about that.
Yeah. Jay, certainly. I bet your dad is, Bella. He's got to be. Like, he loves to monitor all those.
I'm personally too lazy to do that. I'm just feeling feelings.
I was going to ask you, your grandma passed away this past year. How did you process it?
It was weird because I got the news that she wasn't doing well and she was in the hospital right as I got out of school, because we had yonder pouches. We couldn't I couldn't see it before.
Oh, I forgot about those things.
And so I was like, okay, that's not good. And then
Can you quickly explain what a yonder pouch is for those that don't know?
it's the worst. It's anyone who has used a yonder pouch will tell you that it sucks. It's just a pouch. It's like gray, and you put your phone in it, and then you close it, and it locks. And the only way you can unlock it is with a special magnet that they will put them outside of the school.
Right, they don't
but
give you.
during the day, they take them off.
Can a teacher unlock it?
Yeah, you get like staff workers like with them,
Yeah.
and they'll put them up at the end of the day, but during the day, they're not up anywhere.
Gotcha.
right.
But to the point for the teachers, I mean, it is one way to kind of control the cell
It can be
phone
incessant
usage.
Yeah.
at the secondary
I mean,
school
you're
level.
a teacher.
Yeah.
You
Yeah, not at elementary. We're all right. But yeah.
And I
could
can
see
see
it
like
being
the
a giant
benefits,
distraction. Yeah.
But
like
it-
the benefits of it, but also it's
yeah,
like,
sure.
Yeah.
So anyways, you had your phone
Forced.
in a yonder pouch,
Yeah.
and you did not know.
and I got out of school. I got a text from my dad that was like, hey, grandma, like, I forget what he said. He like fell, had a stroke, something. She's in the hospital, not doing good. And I was like, okay. And in my brain, I was like, all right, this is the time. Grandma's like gonna be dead soon.
Yeah.
I texted him that. I was like, so she's gonna die soon? And he was like, probably. And she didn't for like 3 or 4 days, because our whole family hung out every single day.
She's like, leave. Let me go.
Well, it was a little strange because we would hang out in grandma's apartment. Mm-hmm. And I was like, why are we here? Like, it's not making me sad. I'm just like, she's not here. She hit her head in that bathroom. Why are we all just chilling in her house?
Huh.
But
Did your dad? He was very fond of when he would tell stories about his mom, about how she was like ready to go.
oh yeah,
Like, was he open with that with you guys? With
Yeah.
you, like you and Joe?
totally. Yeah. Well, because we all experienced in one way or another grandma telling us that she was ready.
Oh,
Like,
okay.
Right.
one time she had this like blue recliner in her apartment, and she was like, "Oh honey," she lives on the second floor, she was like, "Oh honey, if there was a fire and I was sitting in this chair, I would just turn to ashes." And we were like, "Grandma, you can't say that." But like we all knew that she was like
Yeah, she was
ready,
what, 92?
which is
that.
92 I think.
Which, some people are a young 92.
Yeah.
But she was
a
ready.
tiny old
I'm not
lady.
saying she was. I mean, she was still. She was a
lived on
go-getter.
her, yeah, she lived on her own.
Yeah.
I bet you she would have kept driving if we didn't take her car.
Yeah.
But
We didn't take her car.
we had to. My mom told me they said they were gonna get it fixed or something, and just never gave it back.
Oh my god!
And now Joe
Did
has
she
it.
get into accidents? Like,
No,
was that the issue?
she would just speed. She would go like 50 on Jefferson. Like it was like we have to stop her before something happens.
Preventative.
Preventative,
I get it.
preventative measures.
Yeah.
But I guess kind of knowing that like
That's funny.
she had been wanting to, she
Yeah.
was done for a while. It made it hurt less. It was
Yeah.
still like, oh man, I don't have a grandma anymore. But it was also like, she's having a great time.
Mm-hmm.
She is up there with all of her friends she always talked about who were already dead. And so it hurt, but it wasn't like devastating. You know what I mean?
And I mean, we could talk about this in a little bit, but you have, I mean, unfortunately, have a lot of practice with loss and mourning.
Sure
do.
do.
You lost a brother at a very young
Yep.
age while you were still at a very young age. So,
I was 9.
yeah.
It's a weird age to
was a
go
weird
through
age.
Yeah.
grief.
Yeah, weird.
It's amazing. I would like to talk a little bit more about that, but let's do that in a bit.
Yeah.
All right.
Eric, did you have anything else that you wanted to mention? Okay.
How about you, Brian?
Yeah. I was thinking about, as Chris was talking about, like the difference between yesterday and today. And, I took down all my Christmas decorations yesterday. You guys know I'm Mr. Christmas, but yesterday it was like, I took the first one down. I was like, all right, everything's coming down. It's because I'm going away.
house of
Yeah, I'm
cards.
going away this weekend. I'm going to be in New York again for another week. Hopefully this is the big one and everything goes good in New York. But I was kind of like, I don't want to, have all the decorations up. I know Lex and the kids won't be taking that stuff down. That's what I do, and
So when you come back from your long trip,
right.
yeah.
And
That's
we
so
and
funny.
we've got a we always get a live tree. So it's like if I don't do it now, or before I leave, like it's not going to be.
Well, a dried live tree is not a good thing
It
to
was-
have hanging around.
It was funny because when I took it out yesterday, it was so dry. Like I lifted it above I carried it into my backyard above my head with one arm.
Yeah.
And it was light.
It was just so
Yeah.
empty of water. Yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
good. That is
Yeah. Oh, my Amy gets so scared of that. And meanwhile, we don't even have, like, our lights aren't plugged in. And even when they are plugged in, they're LED lights, so it's like they don't heat up too much. But
Yeah.
she is super scared of, like, she's like, we got to get that thing out of here very soon.
you might say she has a high need of security.
Oh, yeah. You know my
Maybe,
wife.
Maybe.
Yeah, so I did all that yesterday, and it was great. I've honestly had 2 really productive days since the new year started, which has been good. I feel good about coming into this new year, and especially really hitting the ground running. I've been very much into ancient civilizations right now. Like I've been reading and
Took a
watching
turn.
so many things on ancient civilizations. Yeah, right. Christmas tree,
Ancient Egypt.
ancient civilizations.
Mesopotamia?
Wait, dude, that's young.
Bush
Oh,
League.
okay.
Chris.
All
That's
right.
young.
Bush League.
Neanderthals.
No.
What's your opinion on Pompeii?
It was a volcano.
Good one. I don't know. I was just yelling out historical events
Buried
that
in the
happened.
city. No, there's so much more before Mesopotamia and Sumer and it's fascinating. Like when you really think about what a pre-flood world looks like, and every major culture has this flood myth, and so when you start to think about it. I watched this. There's this guy named Graham Hancock, and he says humans are a species with amnesia. And so when you start talking about these myths that transcend, like they're not, it's not just a local thing, but you start to see these themes throughout our history in all of these different cultures from all over the world. He says, is it a myth or is it a memory?
Yeah.
You know, and I love that.
Yeah.
You know, and the fact that we're a species with amnesia, like you see that evident every day. Like how quickly do we forget things that
Right.
happen? Like,
Especially
you know,
this day and age.
a year. Yeah, right. Where there's so much input, and I think it's fascinating how God set up the Israelites is when He brought them out of Egypt and set them up in Israel. He had them in the Levitical law. He had them all of these celebrations, all of these remembrances. Right. It was just like. Because He knows that we're going to forget things, so He's like, remember these have these celebrations every year, have these feasts every year.
Yeah.
You know, we celebrate our birthday, we celebrate our anniversaries and stuff like that, because we're a species with amnesia. You know, and it's important for us to remember. So, anyways, it's been really fascinating to jump into some of this, like I guess alternate history. You know, just and really
a lot of it's not taught.
it's not.
Yeah.
It's not. We're like, and I think it's kind of a specific thing. The more that you read into it, the more it seems to be like an intentional. Hey, this is what the party line is. You got to tell. I mean, we all saw that during COVID. You know, we've seen that in a lot of ways over the past couple of years. Like, here's what the party line says, and you need to go with it. When in reality, there's a whole different world out there.
So this is not like a New Year's resolution type thing for you
No,
that you
it's-
want to. This is something you've been into.
Kind of naturally
Yeah.
happened.
It is.
Yeah.
It's naturally happened, and it's fascinating. Like, because I mean, I'm not I can't sit still. Like, I like to be able to sit still. Like, I like to go to the beach. I like to do that, but like, I need to be stimulated. I need something, you know, and I have to either be producing or, you know, at least intaking something that's going to challenge me. So, and ideally, I want to be doing both. You know what I mean? Like, I want to be producing something, you know, playing at church and doing the podcast and stuff like that, but also to have something really challenging. You know, there's a lot of what I call twaddle out there. Just
I like that
That
word.
sounds like a British swear word.
you twaddle,
You twaddle.
you twaddle. But no, like I think Lex brought it up in regards to kids shows. Like, when our kids were little, she's like, I don't want them watching twaddle. I was like, that's a great word. You know, like dumb shows that have no, like, at least let them get something. You know,
No redeeming value, just twaddle.
Right. And we live in an age of twaddle. Like, Entertainment Tonight. Like, if you turn on Entertainment Tonight, that show, it's like, who people care about this.
Right.
And it's so sad. No offense to anybody that cares about that. But
Sad.
But anyway, so, you know, it's been really fun to dig into this quote unquote alternate history. And yeah, so
That's really cool.
so Bella, you're back from school. You're going back to school soon.
Soon, like the 13th, 14th, I think.
Yeah, give us a quick like update without
Okay, so
spoiling
you're gonna
any
be here next week.
like questions coming up. What's your current like?
My current like status.
Yeah,
Of me.
so you're heading back in a week or so.
Yeah, in a week or so. I'm trying not to think too hard about it. I like being home, but I mean, part of me is ready to like try my new classes and like get ready for that. But also, it's like, oh,
What are you excited about this semester? As far as you just said, try my new classes.
I mean, I'm taking some pretty like not normal classes. Like, I'm taking one that's intro to corrections, which is kind of just like intro to jail.
Huh.
And like why jails are like this and that kind of stuff. So I'm fascinated to see that, and I'm doing
Wait, what's your major?
psychology, subject to change.
Oh, okay.
But there's also intro to like assessment, like psychological assessment, and so I'm excited for that one, so I can do it in my own brain at people.
Well, what is that? What is that? Intro to assessment, like
Psychological
like reading people, like
assessments.
profiling people.
I honestly,
Pretty
I'm not
much.
sure. It sounds like it would be like that, like just like the professional way to like not diagnose, but like read people, I guess.
Sure.
Essentially.
She's
What-
going to create the next relational needs questionnaire.
Nice.
Oh yeah.
What piqued your interest to declare psychology?
Well.
I mean, it doesn't sound like you're 100% sold on it.
Well, it was because I, like, my junior year And kind of like the very beginning of my senior year, I was having like a crisis of like, I don't know what to do with my life. I don't know if I even want to go to college. Da, 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 da. Like everyone pretty much has.
Right.
But then I was like, I find psychology fascinating. And because everyone was kind of surprised that I didn't go into like theater or something.
Yeah.
And the only reason I didn't is because, one, I can't really dance. Like, they make you dance
Sure.
hard.
Yeah.
But I couldn't do that. And it just didn't seem like financially the right choice because if I were to get like whatever the acting degree is called, I would have to like audition for all the things.
Yeah,
and
you're setting yourself up for a very different lifestyle, a very different path.
Tough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Working second jobs.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
psychology, I was like, it's fascinating enough that I think I could find something in this broad range of psychological careers.
Yeah.
That I enjoy. The only reason I'm on the fence about it is because I don't really feel like going to get like my master's.
Yeah.
And the jobs with a psychology degree but not a master's are very small.
Yeah.
And I just don't feel like spending that amount of money and time to that.
Sure.
But I mean, I like the psychology stuff. I find it interesting, but
Yeah, it is daunting to be like, 16, 17 years old.
I hate that.
And
decide what you're going to do for the rest of your life.
I hate it.
Right
Like
now.
it doesn't make. I think it's backwards.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like I really do. Like you got time.
Yeah. And like we've gotten away from the apprenticeships, like go out and work for this person for, a year, 6 months, see if you like this kind of a thing. I just watched Christmas Carol, right before Christmas, and Mr. Fezziwig, Scrooge goes and does his apprenticeship with Fezziwig, but that used to be the norm. It wasn't like
hands-on experience.
There wasn't like somewhere along the lines we developed this: go to school, get good grades, go to college, get a good job template, and like that can be crippling for a lot of people.
It's not for everybody.
And you have a lot of people that get into it, and they do the college thing, they get their grades, they get out. Then even if you get a good job, 5 years down the line, you're like, shoot, I hate this, and I'm still in debt.
Well, and you're told that like you'll get a job right out of college, and that's not the case.
Not always the case.
Yeah,
right.
It's tough, and like to have that pressure on you, like as a teenager, 11th grade, and then you figure out what college you're going to go to, and then but when you still, like you said, Bella, like you're experiencing all those thoughts, and now you're at college, and now you're not even sure. You're not totally sure.
Yeah.
Right.
It's
like you have options. The good thing is that you pick something that has options.
Right.
And solid options. But like it's one of those things like, yeah, we're still not sure. I'm still not sure what I want to do when I grow up. So,
like I have no idea.
And you have, even though like you feel like probably the clock is ticking because you're like, okay, I'm finishing up my first semester, or I'm about to start my second semester.
Yeah.
You still have a long way to go.
Yeah. And what's nice about Mercyhurst is that they're like chill with you changing your major. Like you can do it as many times as you want. So if I did decide like I want to major in this instead, they'd be like, cool.
Right. Just
But
guide you a little bit. Well, then here is the
classes you should take for this thing. But yeah.
And before we get into like more detailed questions for you, Bella, for anybody that doesn't know you, let's just give them a quick rundown. You are Jay's daughter, obviously.
I'm Jay's daughter.
You are
Bella Mitlo.
still 18?
Yeah.
19,
Still 18.
Okay.
19 in March.
18 years old, finished her first semester at Mercyhurst
University.
up in snowy Erie, PA. Is it going to be snowy when you get back? Have they gotten snow?
Probably. I haven't been looking. I don't want to know.
Chances are it's probably. Yeah.
If we got snow here like we did a couple days ago, it was probably doubled up there.
Right.
Because they're right next to a lake.
You go above I-80, Interstate 80. It's like it's
night and day.
Yeah, it's
up there by
like
Titusville. Yeah.
Ever heard of it?
Yeah.
It's like 10 minutes from Lake Erie. So like on Halloween, we got like 2 inches of snow. Yeah. And I was like, this is dumb.
It didn't snow anywhere else in the world.
Just Mercyhurst.
Just there.
Yeah, just right there.
So Chris said, finish your first semester. So what was it like from going to everyday life being surrounded by everything you know to a whole new world?
Meaning like from high school to college, right?
Yeah.
Biggest transition
Well,
of
and
your life so
home
far,
to dorm
right?
room,
Yeah. It was definitely different. I When I first got there, I wasn't like devastated to say goodbye to my parents. Like, obviously, I love my mom and dad, but I was like, I'm ready.
Yeah.
Bye.
They've prepared
Which
you
they
well.
were a little surprised for because Joe
Yeah, a little
was a
different
little
than-
more emotional about it. Meanwhile, I'm like, see ya.
Cutthroat. You're just like, bye.
See ya. I gotta unpack. And they're like, oh, okay. But I mean, it was a big adjustment, especially like because of my not so great roommate problems. I was like, now I have to deal with living with someone who doesn't
Right.
like me
You're
for no
dealing
reason.
dealing with issues without your parents like having your back right then and there, that kind
Right.
of thing. Yeah.
And
Learning how to like fend for myself in a
You-
type of way.
you came into a kind of a nightmare roommate scenario. Like it's like of all the things that really stink, it's that
Yeah.
because you're living with this person now.
I have to see them all the time.
Sure.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is like you haven't established really solid relationships yet. Talking about
Right.
we're a relational podcast. You haven't established those like, oh, these are my go-to people that I can
That is
have
so
that.
lonely.
Especially at the time when like all of the drama was happening with my roommate. And just in short, she was just very passive aggressive, wouldn't tell me any problem she had. And then when
Yeah.
I confronted her about it, she got super angry and accused me of things. And whatever, she's gone now. I have a new awesome roommate.
Good.
And now I can say I have like 3, which sounds like a sad number, but it's a big accomplishment for me. Like 3 people who I know I can go to and talk to.
That's
that
great.
are,
That's
like,
a
my
great
friends.
number.
Why
Yeah.
do you need any more than
Three's
that?
great. You really don't.
But
That's a perfect number.
Yeah.
yeah, but especially back in like September, October when it was really happening,
Yeah.
my friends at the time were also my roommate's friends. You know, my roommate's name is Gina. Her name is Gina. She was
Yeah.
my roommate. I'm going to say it. I don't know why I was like protecting her privacy or whatever. Gina's friends were also my friends because I kind of just like walked in on them in like the common hall one day and I was like, hey. And so it was like, I don't want to go talk to them about this because they're also her friend.
Right.
And
Sure.
I don't know. And I've eventually, like now I've drifted away from that group. It's the only one I really have like an issue with is Gina because she's the worst.
Do you still have interactions with her?
At, like once a week because we're both in the same choir. We're both in chamber choir. But even then, like we don't sit next to each other. We don't talk to each other.
Sure.
We,
It's
especially
awkward.
me, I like it's so awkward. If
Yeah.
I see her in the dining hall, I'm like, no. And I just like walk the opposite way because I don't want to see her.
Well, this episode is titled Uncomfortable.
Uncomfortable.
Yeah, that,
right.
that does feel very uncomfortable.
Oh, it's so
Ugh,
uncomfortable.
yeah.
But with all the other people in that group, I don't talk to them anymore. But if I see them, I do like a little like, hey, like a little smile.
Do you know what your emotional what your highest emotional needs are?
I don't remember. I've taken the quiz, but
Yeah.
I don't remember.
I might look that up real quick.
Yeah.
You have that on record?
Oh yeah,
Oh, yeah.
we do.
How
Yeah.
did you
Permanent record.
No.
How did you cope with the feeling of being utterly not even just alone? Because I mean, yes, on the one hand you were alone, on the other hand there was like a microscope on you of uncomfortableness. You know what I mean? Like it
Yeah.
wasn't just even like you were, hey, I'm isolated. You were isolated physically, emotionally, especially again, your first semester, you've just left home.
Right.
You've-
Like I just got here and I'm having problems.
right,
What?
right. With your roommate.
Right. Who I live with. Not anymore.
Right.
But,
So you were alone in one sense, but also you were completely occupied and surrounded by the very person who's making you feel alone. How did you cope through that? What did you do?
while she was there, because the day after because we had like one big like blowout argument, and then like the next day, really late at night, she moved her stuff out. Not all of it, but most of it, because her mom apparently said that if she didn't take her stuff out by that night, her mom was going to come pick her up because she didn't want her living in a room with me, which my mom heard that, and you can imagine how that made her feel.
Mama bear.
Mama bear. But so luckily after that, she didn't sleep in my room like after that night. Like after the argument, I was like, I don't want to be in here. So I slept in my friend Sydney's room, and she moved her stuff out. And then so I was lucky for that she didn't stick around while she was trying to find a new roommate and just like being that awkward silent
Right.
thing.
Make it even more awkward.
But it was also very lonely being alone in that room.
Yeah.
Ironically enough, because I was alone. But I was like, I have no one to talk to, and I'm just here.
Yeah.
So you just kind of, did you journal? Did what? I mean,
I don't have the attention span for journaling, but I just kind of like, I was just there. That week and a half, 2 weeks where I didn't have a roommate, I was just kind of like doing the same thing every day. It was very Groundhog Day.
Mm-hmm.
But then,
Where were you emotionally during that though? Like,
were you hurt?
I wasn't really hurt. I was just kind of annoyed by like most things.
So you didn't necessarily, did you feel like personally attacked, or was it more like, all right, you don't like me, whatever, that's on you? Or is it something else?
It was a little bit of like, it felt like a personal attack, but also it was like, I don't like you, you don't like me, let's just leave it at that. But like my little brain that holds grudges all the time, I'm like still mad at her.
Sure.
Not to this day, I've let it go. But
It's hard to do that though,
yeah.
because that is very personal.
yeah. And like I said, the 2 weeks I didn't have a roommate, it was very Groundhog Day. Like I would wake up, go to class, come back, take a nap, go to class.
Did you scroll through your phone a lot?
Oh yeah,
Yeah, that
most
was pretty
of what
much
I
it.
did.
You just lost yourself in like Instagram and whatever.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
now, because it's funny, my current roommate, they also had roommate problems, and theirs were kind of worse because the two of them didn't talk for a week straight while they were still living together. Like not a single word.
Ugh.
Like their name is Alex. They just came up to me and were like, "Are you still in the market for a roommate? Because my roommate sucks and I want a new one." And I was like, "Sure." Like, why not? And it's great. And we get along super well, way more than I did with Gina.
Do you guys have conversations about your first roommates at all? Like, is there any kind of like therapy or,
Yeah.
anything like that going on?
Well,
And you are going into psychology, so
yeah. Well, they were also a psychology major. They switched it to art therapy, but that's still
Your
very
current
psychology.
roommate?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're still very psychology based, but it's art therapy now.
Mm-hmm.
But when they first moved in, Alex and I would do this thing at night where we would just like throw back and forth a stuffed animal and just like talk about whatever.
Nice.
Sometimes,
kind of like whoever had the stuffed animal like goes.
well, no, we're just kind of
Just playing
like
catch
just
and
playing
talking.
catch, sitting on our beds, throwing
Not
things,
scrolling on your phone.
not scrolling,
Yeah.
trauma
Yeah.
dumping,
That's
the
good.
fun stuff.
That is good.
What'd you say? Drama dumping.
Trauma dumping.
Trauma dumping.
Well, some days it would be more silly things, and then other days it would be like, so what happened in your childhood that affected you, like to this day?
Oh, interesting.
And because I love like the deep conversations, the TMI, I love talking about that stuff.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, let's talk about it. And so yeah,
So is it fair to say that your original roommate, you would call that like the low point of your first semester, or the lowest
Yeah.
moment, like just dealing with that was the low point?
yeah, that was probably the lowest point of my semester.
What would you consider like a high point?
Yeah. What have you liked about moving
Yeah.
on to college? Because there's some freedom
Yeah,
in
there's
it.
got to be some
Yeah.
good stuff.
You're
right?
you're running the show of your day to day.
I do like that I don't have to wake up at 6:30 in the morning to go to school for 7 hours.
When is your first class?
Yeah.
When is my first class? Next semester, 9 or 10, which isn't awful.
No, it's not
No.
fun.
I think it might be 10. That's still hard for me because I hate waking up in the mornings, but
Oh man.
Yeah, it's better than 6:30.
better than 6:30.
I remember we were talking about this the other day. You had
Yeah.
mentioned to me 10 o'clock because I had said, well, that's really like good for a freshman because usually they put those
8 o'clock.
100 level classes,
Yeah.
man.
Boom.
Those are
Yep.
8 a.m.
Yeah.
because the
It gets better
upperclassmen
as
are
you
like,
go on
forget
and on.
this.
Yeah.
So if you're at 10 o'clock now, boy, you're going to
We go
yeah,
2 o'clock by
lucky.
right before
junior
bedtime.
year. I
and then
know.
you go to class.
I was lucky for sure, but yeah, I like that I don't have to wake up that early. I like that I can like go to eat whenever I want.
Do you
and
do you go to breakfast like at the cafeteria or anything like that? Or?
no, the breakfast closes at 11, and I'm never up if I don't have to be.
Yeah.
So I'm usually
Are you a breakfast person?
not really.
Yeah.
I mean, some days before class I'd have like a granola bar,
Right.
Yeah.
but I'm not a big like get up and have a good big breakfast before the day. I'm just kind of like, here's a granola bar. I'll eat that so I don't have stomach growls in the middle of class.
Yeah.
Do you feel like the college schedule and like the more control, I guess, that you have over it, does that benefit you? Like, I know you're talking about liking some of it. Do you feel like as a student, does it benefit you, or does it make it more difficult to like and I'll use a personal example. When I first started my first semester in college, with all that freedom, I ended up skipping classes, not doing homework because it's hey,
You have to self-govern.
like yes,
Yeah.
it was too much for me.
Well, first of all, congratulations to you because I never made it past my first semester. I went to Pitt Johnstown, and after about the halfway point of my first semester, I just quickly went to class. And then by the end of that first semester, I was just done. I just decided to live in Johnstown. So congratulations to you for successfully finishing your first semester.
Thank you.
And do you find that it's easier, or would you prefer like a high school type of schedule where you're just like get in, do it all, and get out?
I like the college more because it's like they're not all one after the other. Like this past semester, I had a class at 10, and then I had a class at 2, and that was it.
Yeah.
And those were my classes for the day.
What do you do in that middle time? Are you the type of person that you're like, okay, I have this work to get done from my 10 o'clock class.
Nap.
Let me do it before. Oh, you're
To cut you off, nap.
you're my kind of person.
Oh
All right.
yeah, I would.
So you sleep in and then you nap.
Yeah, I would sleep, nap.
Second sleep.
Second sleep.
Just like Jay.
But the skipping class, it is. It does become like a thing where you do
It's-
it once and you're like,
Yes,
oh.
it's tempting.
It's tempting.
It's like, oh, nobody's gonna call me on this.
Right.
Like, maybe I could just do it again.
Yeah, the only one I would really do that for was my 10 a.m. my research and writing class, mostly because
It's research and writing.
It's research and writing, but I still forced myself at least because I had that class Monday, Wednesday, Friday, so at least 2 days out of the week I would force myself to go if I decided to skip. But it gets you. You just sit in bed and you're like, I could just not go,
Yeah.
but I should.
That's
But
a
we're not going to do anything.
Giant test of being a responsible human
Yes.
being.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, Eric and I work from home, and I know for me there are days where I'm like, all right. I mean, even as a 46-year-old man who's been doing this for a while, all right, Brian, come on, you got to do something today.
Yeah.
Gotta do something.
You got to do something.
I try to make a list. That's my thing. I make a list. 'Cause then I'll feel like I'm productive.
Yeah.
And
Checking things off.
I think you can have those moments where you're like, all right, I didn't do that thing or whatever. I didn't go to that class. But I think like you have to remember that it's very cumulative, and it's like by the time I get to the end of this thing, I better be able to deliver.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, miss a class or two here. Don't make it a habit, and just remember that at the end of the day, like you better be able to perform when you need
Right.
to perform. You
Yeah.
know?
Like I made sure I was still fine on projects and essays and tests and stuff in that class, which there weren't many tests or projects. It was more like essays, but I made sure to always like keep up with them and make sure I wasn't falling too behind. But yeah.
So, would you say that things have stabilized for you? Do you feel more optimistic about where you're going? I mean, that was a pretty brutal entry.
Yeah.
To
Yeah.
There's a lot going on.
Like
yeah.
A lot
you
happening.
graduate high school and you end up with this like roller coaster of, well, first of all, like everybody does, like, okay, what's the next step? Life is gonna change no
Well,
matter
again,
what.
You graduated high school on kind of a like you were in that. Like,
Yeah.
Again, the music, leading the musical. You had a pretty good friend group. You from what I know you pretty well and watched you pretty well. From what I saw, you kind of ended your high school on a high.
I did.
Then to go into that, like, boom, that's such a punch to the gut.
It
Yeah.
was weird.
And you have, like we've said, immediate roommate problems, and now a
Yeah.
nice roommate,
And
and
now
up
a
and
good
down, and yeah, like
So,
Brian
yeah, do
said,
you feel
where how are you feeling now?
It's very much like if I was a boat, like the waves have settled down for the moment.
That's
and
good.
hopefully they'll stay pretty mellow. Like I know eventually there's going to be some big waves and things
Sure.
to like mess me up and throw me off my path. But I mean, I'm ready for it. I feel like nothing could be as bad as my first semester. Knock on wood.
And usually, I mean, it's not like bad things can't happen, but yeah, like
Yeah.
it's tough starting out.
Yeah.
And once it becomes more like once you start to feel like, and maybe this has already happened for you, like you start to feel like, oh, I belong here. Like I am a college student. Mercyhurst is like maybe second home is too strong a term, but it's like, this is my place.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you start to feel like you belong.
Yeah. I feel that a little bit, not super hard yet, but
yeah, sure.
I'm
Yeah,
definitely
I feel like that'll come around.
Yeah, but I've definitely gotten more comfortable like in myself, if that makes sense. Because back in high school, I'd like wake up every day, put on makeup, put on a nice outfit. I wear sweatpants all the time now and I don't care. So I think that means that I'm getting more comfortable, even though this is uncomfortable episode.
Well, and you seem to talk more positively, especially compared to like I remember having a conversation with you like maybe October-ish. And you were in the midst of it, right? Like
Yeah,
the
I was in the middle of
downtimes,
it.
like it was.
And I was like, I hate it here.
Yes.
And now I'm like, it's pretty all right. Pretty all right.
I know you're doing like chamber choir and stuff, but are you doing any theater stuff?
I tried to do theater stuff. I'm in an acting class. There was a play
Okay.
in the fall. It was called The Government Inspector. And I auditioned and didn't make it, which didn't hurt too bad because I was
Yeah.
already like, it's college. I'm
And
not gonna...
you're a freshman first
Yeah.
semester. I'm sure there's
First
going to be
semester
other
freshman.
opportunities come.
Yeah, there's a musical coming up. The auditions are January 30th. It's a musical I've never heard of, but I looked it up. It's called A Threepenny Opera. I
right.
don't know. Someone Google it.
You gonna go out for it? You gonna audition?
I'm gonna try.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's a different audition process than high school though, because at least Penn Hills, they would give you music from the show and you would sing it. But in college and more like professional type, because they're setting you up for your future.
Professional.
More like an
type.
interview.
Yeah, 16 bars.
Yeah.
You have an accompanist. You choose your song. And I was like, oh,
Yeah.
I don't know how to do that. But I asked my acting teacher, who also does the plays and the musicals, and he was like, no, yeah, like he helped me along with figuring out like you do something that's similar to the show, but you don't do something from the show, like
Yeah.
You do some Miley Cyrus or something.
Hannah Montana.
Do you feel like you've had the benefit of growing up in a community, specifically your family, but this community sitting around the table, in effect for quite a while, and understanding even the concept of emotional needs and relational needs and things like that, where most adults have never even thought
Right.
about this,
Yeah.
let alone, people of your age and generation and things like that. Do you feel like being able to see, do you see through the lens of this? I mean, I would imagine to some degree you probably have to.
Yeah.
And how do you feel? Did that help you? Do you feel like that helped you at all during the turbulent time? And do you feel like you're able to see things that other, students and people your age would miss? And does that help you or hurt you?
I definitely have noticed like that I am more emotionally intelligent than a lot of the people at my school, because my friend Sydney has talked to a couple dudes, like she's doing stuff at college, and they all like the reason they didn't like work, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is like he's such an awful like supporter and comforter, like he's terrible at comforting, and I'm like, I sound like my dad. I am Jay Mitlo now.
Well, I love when you talked about your conversations with your new roommate and tossing the stuffed animal back and forth, and you're like, so what things from your childhood hurt
What's
you
your
and stick
trauma?
with you? Yes, because obviously that's a foundation of what we talk about is
Yeah.
that like childhood hurts don't go away.
No, they don't.
So
And I couldn't look up your results because I have a feeling you probably took the emotional needs questionnaire on paper at some point.
I think I did
Yeah.
on paper.
And not on the Google Doc.
oh,
that
we got to
have.
get you on that.
Get on the dot.
But I'm curious because like that would be like I would feel like that's like a sense of belonging, like doing something like that.
I very much appreciate belonging. I
Yeah.
hate feeling like, oh, I'm the odd one out here.
Okay.
Great.
So, and that kind of like gets you into that deeper relationship, like bringing up those heavy topics, bringing up those big things from the past, and like having
Yeah.
that conversation with
Yeah.
your roommate with
Creates a bond.
yeah,
bond.
right,
Yeah.
and then you guys are tighter because of it. I think that's awesome.
And I just like knowing things about people, because eventually you find something that you have in common.
yeah,
So
Right.
you all like